The power of letting go, unlocking your wealth, adding joy to your life, and having some self-mastery. So I did an interview with Jim Britt, dear friend of mine, 30-year-old friend, like I've known him for so long. And we did an amazing podcast on letting go. And what does that mean as a wealth builder, as an entrepreneur, and just as a person to live a more fulfilled life? And we put it in the context of breaking through to create more wealth. So inside of our 4 parts, we'll be interviewing, starting and stopping throughout. So this is part 1 of a 4-part series on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to introduce you to Jim. The first part of the series is about letting go and how letting go creates breakthroughs. The 3 things that Jim and I were going to be talking about is how do you say yes and figure it out, which we've all been talking about, and then who knows how to figure it out, why mentorship is absolutely essential for growth in your life, to have someone else's perspective, always mirroring back how you're thinking and how you're behaving. And the last thing Jim and I talk about in this first of the 4 part is you're not stuck. You're stuck in a story that's not working for you. So let's listen in. Hey, this is Loral. Welcome back to Loral's Real Money Talks, a podcast about that. How do you make money? How do you keep money? How do you learn to invest money? How do you use a team? I don't believe there's self-made millionaires. We're teammate. No one's done it by themselves. And most of my podcasts, as many of you have been listening, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the notification button so you get notified every Friday morning a new podcast comes out. So today I'm interviewing Jim Britt. I've known him probably 20 years. If I think about how small my son was at your house, probably 20 years. I've known him for a very long time. Mutual serial entrepreneur, author, spoke all over the world like myself. And we've just crossed paths. So it's been a long time, especially post-COVID. So Jim, welcome to Loral's Real Money Talks.
Hey, it's great to be here. Great to reconnect here for sure.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about your journey, because I know you had some great success in direct sales. You've got 15 books. So talk a little bit about your history and how you got here.
My history is I'm a high school dropout, and only 2 jobs I've ever had. I pumped gas for a while, and I worked in a factory on an assembly line, which I thought was my dream job, but turned out it wasn't. And then I got introduced to a direct sales company. Didn't know what I was doing there. They told me that if I talked to 10 people a day, I'd make a lot of money. I did that for a year, and I made 1 sale and lost everything I owned. And then somebody showed up and mentored me and taught me what to stop doing and what I needed to be talking about and saying and the questions I need to ask. And my second year, I earned just over $500,000 in that direct sales company. And the 1 sale that I made, that presented another opportunity to me, and I earned over $500,000 in that opportunity. So I went from my home in foreclosed, no vehicles, 15 cents in my pocket, a wife and a child, and no place to live in 5 days, to millionaire in 1 year.
That's awesome.
So that was my start. But the thing that came out of the direct sales company, it closed down a couple of years after that. And Jim Rohn was the trainer in that company.
Yeah.
And a lot of people know of Jim Rohn. And we ended up as business partners for about 8 years. That's how I got into the speaking business. I started promoting Jim. And after about a year, I did such a great job that we were selling about 25,000 tickets a month to Jim's events, and basically it forced me into speaking. And here I am 45 years later with over 5,000 events in 31 countries, and up 1 million people have attended. So that's a little of my background.
That's awesome. So let's talk about, we have lots of things. We could go entrepreneurship, business development. There's so many places, but today we really want to focus on the power of letting go. And let's talk about that, because I think for most entrepreneurs, that's a very hard place to stand and be in.
Yeah, I was asked on a panel a while back, what's the one thing you've learned over and above everything else since you've been in this business? And without any hesitation, I said the ability to let go, because I think most people hang on to stuff and that's irrelevant in today's world, things that happened to them in the past. One woman I asked in one of my events, we were talking about financial success, and she said, well, I could never be financially successful. And I said, why not? And she said, well, because of my father. And I said, well, what about your father? She said, well, he basically verbally abused me since I was 2 years old up till I was 18, told me I'd never measure up to my siblings and I'd never be successful at anything. And I said, so he's the reason you can't be successful? She said, yes. I said, where's your father now? She said, well, he died 10 years ago. I said, well, who's abusing you now? She said, I don't understand the question. I said, well, he's not here. So who's abusing you now that's stopping you from being financially successful? I just still don't understand the question. I came back 4 different times. And finally she goes, you mean I'm abusing me? I don't know. What do you think? And I came back the 5th time. I didn't even get close to her. And she said, oh my God, I'm carrying on his legacy. I'm allowing what he did to me to influence my life from this point forward. And I worked with her for about 5 minutes on letting go of that. And she's now up and running a business and doing well. And it's so simple when you look at it from my point of view, but when you look at it from somebody else's point of view that's in it, it's not so simple because they can't see it.
So you said you worked with her for 5 minutes. Talk us through the process of how you work with someone, or just advice to those that are listening for today's podcast. What are some steps, some tools, some things that they could use in different situations to let go versus control?
We all get programmed during the first 6 years of our life to do positive things, walking and talking, and all the things our parents teach us. But also, a lot of people go through hardship. They get maybe abuse or verbal, physical abuse, grow up with an alcoholic in the family or a parent that abuses the other. When a child feels that negative thing, really what they want to do is be happy and joyful, and they learn to suppress that. And over time, the more they suppress them, the less happy they become. And they develop a core belief that they have about themselves during that first 6 years. And so every decision you make then gets filtered through the core belief. Part of it is when you decide what you really want in life, and people come to events, they go to your events, my events, they read books, they join the gym to get healthy, they go on weight loss programs. And it always puzzled me why 80% of them just never follow through. They go there, they learn the things, they're excited, but then you check with them later on, they just don't follow through. I thought, if I could solve that, that's a big marketplace for one thing. And really I did. I came up with the answers. And it is that core belief that we have in order to stay on track, the decisions we make of what we want in our life, what we want to create in our business, our personal life, or anything in life. It's got to start with a firm decision. And it can't be a half-hearted decision. If a decision is a full circle, most people leave a little opening in that circle. Yeah. And that's their escape route. That's their excuse that they're going to come up with. But they want to do it. They just are afraid. And it's so interesting that we make up the story of what we want to accomplish. We turn around and make up a fear to keep us from it. Mm-hmm. So first of all, you got to understand, you have to make a firm decision. You have to understand that you're making up the fear that's keeping you from it. Yep. And become more self-observant of your actions and asking yourself moment to moment, is this action I'm taking me moving in the direction that I want to go, yep, or not? And success at anything is that simple. Yeah. There's no gray area. It's black and white. It's either taking you there or it's not taking you there. If you sleep 8 hours a night or 6 hours a night, or if you don't sleep well, is that taking you there or not? If you sleep too much, is that taking you there or not? If you eat a hamburger once a month, fast food, is that helping you with your health or not? People say, well, it's not that bad once a month. Well, it's not, but it's black and white. It's either taking you there or it's not.
So I hope you enjoyed that first part of our 4-part interview with Jim Britt. Right now, I need you to subscribe to my channel, click that notification button, be here 5 days a week. We've been here now for 4 years. We're recording this in July of 2025, and we started this 4 years ago post-COVID, and I love it. So share with your families. If you ever have any questions, go to askloral.com, ASKLORAL. Ask a question, make a request. We're going to be back tomorrow with part 2 with Jim Britt.